Sup and welcome to the Run-inWrestling podcast. Before we get into it, make sure you're checking out all of our social media, Run-in-Wrestling everywhere, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and of course, where you're probably listening to this right now, either YouTube or SoundCloud. Live from the Run-in Studios in Kent, I am Ryan Beek, and normally we are joined by Matt over in the Leicester Studios of the Run-in Studios, but unfortunately he couldn't be here today. Matt's having a bit of a hard time with his computer at the moment. It's not doing him any favours. So we wish Matt's computer a speedy recovery and happy Rusev Day to everyone. Of course, it's the best day of the year, like every day of the year, because every day is Rusev Day. So happy Rusev Day. Make sure you're letting us know in the comments section below what you're doing on this Rusev Day today. So, therefore, today's podcast is going to be... Really need better sound effects. We are going to be talking about the 10 things we want to happen in WWE this year. And I like how I keep saying we. It was put towards me and Matt would have been here, but as I just explained, he couldn't be here today. But Matt did have some involvement in this as well. So, unlike normal lists, this isn't going to be your normal, it isn't going to be 10 to 1. It's going to be 1 to 10, because it's not a top 10. It's just 10 things we want to happen this year. But before we get into that, we are just going to do a bit of a reflection. That's what we do here at Run-in. We're going to do a bit of reflection on this week in wrestling. So obviously at the start of this week, we obviously had Monday Night Raw on New Year's Day. And what a Monday Night Raw it was. So we started off Monday Night Raw, Cesaro versus Jason Jordan, after that very, very weird start of Kurt Angle, Jason Jordan and the Bar all in the ring together. And then, Seth Rollins comes out and basically just says to Jason Jordan, hey, we may be tag team partners, but I don't care if you win or lose. I just want to make sure that we keep onto these belts, which is a fantastic segment from Seth Rollins. I mean, he just kind of comes out and just goes, you're not Dean. Shut up. So, moved on straight after that, Bray Wyatt versus Apollo Crews. I mean, we know it all was all just a setup for Matt coming out. We knew it was going to happen. It was very predictable, but still good nonetheless, because Dana Brooke was fantastic. She looks really good with the Titus brand. Now, I'm sorry, but they need to do something with Titus Worldwide that is a bit more than them just standing at the ring. Because, like the Fashion Files, they could have something really good on their hands. They could have something where they're trying to either pitch themselves in a really funny way to like Triple H, Stephanie McMahon or someone, and they could just be like, get out of my office. That was my best Triple H impression. I'm sorry, I'm never going to do that again. Also, in Raw this week, Alexa Bliss versus Asuka. Obviously, after Alexa Bliss tried to get Nia to come to the ring with her, but Nia was like, I got chicken soup for Enzo. So, and then Alexa Bliss does an ultimatum. I'm sorry, but everyone knows you never give someone an ultimatum. Because if it's between you and them, if you're the person giving an ultimatum, they should always choose them. I'm sorry, but they just should. That's the way it goes. Braun Strowman versus Rhino, which Braun Strowman just decided to power slam again and again and again and again and again and again and again to both Heath Slater and Rhino after that really good moment of Braun Strowman picking up the mic when Heath Slater is on the apron and just going, you have two options. You either get off this man and stand by the ring, or you can catch these hands. And it was the best thing. I think everyone around the world that watched that, whether they were at the arena or whether they watched it online, was just like, whoa, no way, whoa, catch these hands. I really hope this is something that they actually carry on with. Because it'd be great if Braun Strowman was just, instead of like, I'm the master among men, or whatever, it's just like, you can catch these hands. And then, of course, you know that everyone's going to catch those hands because Braun Strowman is just a dominant beast. So, and then we had, obviously, the Roman Reigns Samoa Joe Intercontinental Championship match. But, of course, if Roman Reigns got disqualified, that was going to be it. They were going to give the title to Joe, which, I don't know. It's one of those ones that I don't really understand the stipulations that they put together. It's not a normal match, but it's not a no DQ match. So, but you can change the title with if he gets DQ'd, even though a normal match, if you get DQ'd, you get champion's advantage. Basically, no champion's advantage match, if they want to call it that. But the most memorable moment is obviously out on the side when Roman Reigns picks up the steps. Joey's standing across the barrier and is just basically like, "Go on, hit me with the steps." And Roman Reigns is like, "Should I? Shouldn't I?" Doesn't. Beats Samoa Joe. Keeps his Intercontinental title, which is fine. You know, it's Roman. He's gonna do it. So I'd imagine that he's gonna keep that all the way through to Mania now. And then he's probably, if he wins the Royal Rumble whilst he's Intercontinental champion, I think I'm just gonna give up on WWE. I'm not gonna lie. If that happens, then I feel like I might just give up. But it'd be interesting because The Miz obviously is coming back next week, so it'd be interesting to see him in a segment with Roman Reigns, him saying, "I want my Intercontinental title rematch," and I'd imagine he's gonna try and want the rematch at the Royal Rumble if he doesn't have it there and then that night. Very high chance of this being a fantastic match, but it just goes to show you what they think of The Miz at the moment, because before, if he came back, no one was really like, "Oh yeah, great, The Miz is coming back." You know, same as Becky Lynch, no one really gave her a promo. She just kind of came back and she got a loud pop for it, great. But this time within WWE, The Miz actually got some promo, some sound clips, some VTs, everything together, and it was really good. Really good. So it just goes to show how WWE actually hold Miz within the company at the moment. Next was 205 Live action, in which, because Enzo Amore was ill, they threw Goldust in with Cedric Alexander against Gulak and Daivari, and was just great. I think Goldust made the match. Obviously, they got the win. And this is what people have been saying. They want the main roster to interact with 205 Live, and they'll make 205 Live more watchable. So, and then I would say the best bit in the match, because this probably pissed off so many non-WWE fans, but indie fans, a lot. And it was the moment that Finn Balor teamed up with the Good Brothers, the nerds. Well, they're not the nerds, they say that. But Finn Balor, Luke Gallows, and Carl Anderson against Elias and the Miz Taraj. Absolutely fantastic. And of course, they ended the show with Brock Lesnar getting a choke slam, no selling it, and then just killing Kane. So that was standard. Not a great ending. I'm not a massive fan of what they're doing with Kane being in there in the Brock Lesnar scene at the moment, but we'll move on from that. So then the next night brought us SmackDown. Of course it always does, because Tuesday follows Monday, which means SmackDown follows Raw. In which it was a really weird SmackDown this week. So AJ comes out, calls out Daniel Bryan before Daniel Bryan gets a chance to talk. Shane comes out, and then then Shane goes, "Well, if Kevin's allowed out with Sami Zayn, then I'm going out." And then Daniel Bryan is like, "I'm coming out." And then a load of other people no, they didn't. There wasn't any more people. It was just Daniel Bryan, Shane, and Kevin all ringside. But it was a really good segment, in which led to probably one of the most confusing moments of 2018 already. Obviously being the first SmackDown of the year. But something that just didn't really make any team strong, and that was the tag team title match for the Usos versus Shelton Benjamin and Chad Gable. In which so people got tagged in. A pin happened. Wasn't the right people. A ref came out, showed a replay, and the match got restarted. But the ref's decision is normally final, which normally leads to a rematch, which is why they do it. Which, in all fairness, if they'd just done it as we want a rematch next week, they're fair enough, because at least Shelton Benjamin and Chad Gable would have had the titles at some point in 2018. And it leads to a series that you could do. You could then have the Usos win it back either next week, or the Royal Rumble, or something. But this just... it didn't make either team feel really that strong, and it just wasn't great. Next, Breezango versus the Bludgeon Brothers. And I really enjoy the Bludgeon Brothers. I think they're fantastic. But before the match could even get underway, the Bludgeon Brothers beat the snot Yes, we are a PG channel here. We try not to swear. But they beat the snot out of Breezango before the Ascension came out. It literally just jumped onto the Bludgeon Brothers and stole them back. So, I mean, it was okay. I like where this is going. I like that the Bludgeon Brothers get to be dominant. And I like that Breezango and the Ascension get to have like their funny moments. And the Ascension are back next week. The Ascension was such a great tag team in NXT. And hopefully it goes to show this next week. Next up was the United States Championship tournament match of Xavier Woods vs Aiden English. And the reason why I have a problem with this is, fair enough, kayfabe, and fair enough, right, wrestlers have to earn their money. But if they're saying on the live shows that Dolph Ziggler has given up his title, don't make him defend it against Bobby Roode and Baron Corbin at live shows. Because then we know people who go to these shows and people on the social media who, quite often or not, will try and read about what's happening during live shows, will know that he's not actually retired the belt. He's not actually given it up. So, I mean, this is all going to be something like the last match in the final is going to be like the Royal Rumble, in which, I don't know, he's going to be added to it, or he's going to face the winner and there's going to be 2 belts. I don't know. It might be a whole CM Punk thing that they're going to do. But either way, the match was really good. I found it quite enjoyable. Always enjoy Rusev Day. Always enjoy the New Day as well. And then they're back. The welcoming committee have joined up again, even though it kind of doesn't make sense that they're back now because the Riot Squad have already settled into SmackDown. It would have been better if they were called the welcoming committee sort of after the first or second week that the Riot Squad had joined, because it would have shown a bit more dominance. But it was an okay match, really good. I really enjoy what the women did this week. It just goes to show what they're going to do towards the Rumble. But it should be interesting. We're going to be talking more about that and the Royal Rumble as a whole of a pay-per-view, what we're going to be expecting very, very soon. It's going to be on one of our podcasts, so make sure you are tuned in for that. If you're on YouTube, make sure you're subscribing. Make sure you're hitting that little bell to notify you whenever we're putting up content. We're going to try and put out at least weekly podcast. At least is the key word here. At least weekly podcast every single week for you guys. And then finally we had AJ Styles versus Sami Zayn. Really good match to build up what is happening. Obviously went on the outside. The ref ends up falling out the ring. Kevin Owens is like, "Oh, you okay?" Holds him whilst AJ pins Sami Zayn. In the end, the pin doesn't happen. Well, it happens, in which to a count of 2, Sami Zayn finally breaks out of it, in which then Shane McMahon pushes Kevin Owens and says to the ref, "Send him out." Daniel Bryan is then like, "No, Shane, you leave." And then, obviously, Sami Zayn then gets the win. Very interesting indeed. Very keen to see where this is all going. But weirdly enough, obviously, they've put a handicap match for the Royal Rumble of Zayn and Owens versus AJ Styles for the title, which I don't understand how that's going to work. I don't know whether they're going to be co-owners of it if they win, or it's whoever gets the pin. But this could be leading to a very good and interesting, and I hope interesting as well. It could be leading to the WrestleMania. It could be leading to Fastlane. Could be leading to anything like that. And honestly, this would be my perfect scenario of at a pay-per-view. So let's say Fastlane. So let's say Royal Rumble is won by a SmackDown competitor that isn't Sami or Kevin. Then at Fastlane you have AJ Styles, Sami Zayn, and Kevin Owens in a triple threat match, and Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens aren't friends anymore. That would be such a great match. Be fantastic. And if you like fantastic matches like that, then we're going to be talking about the 10 things we want to happen in WWE this year, and that's kind of part of it. So just stay tuned for that. Don't worry, just stay tuned for it. And finally, on the 4th, so on Thursday, 7 a.m. here, or 8 a.m. here actually. This is Greenwich Mean Time. And then I think it was like 2, 3, 4 o'clock, depending on where you are in America. And then obviously their normal time over in Japan. We had Wrestle Kingdom 12, which was an interesting pay-per-view, as I keep saying the word interesting. But it was really good. I thought it was really good from what I watched. I didn't watch the Rumble. The first match I actually watched was the Fatal 4-Way for the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Championship. That was Marty Scurll, who was champion at the time, versus Hiromu Takahashi versus Kushida. I didn't watch any of the matches before that. I've gone back and watched a few of them. They're okay, good matches, really enjoyed them. I enjoy watching Wrestle Kingdom, enjoyed watching it last year, but I'm only going to talk about what I watched at the time. So, obviously, Will Ospreay, absolutely fantastic guy, won the belt. I still think Will Ospreay is the future, and I say this, is the future of wrestling. He is going to be better than Kenny Omega, and if he ever gets signed to WWE, which I don't know if he will, because I don't know whether he'll take the Kenny Omega route, but he will revolution. If if Triple H took over main roster and just went, right, we're going to put Will Ospreay in NXT and then bring him up to the main roster. In fact, they could just take him up to the main roster if he gets that big, like they did with AJ Styles. And he could be such a big deal. He has such finesse with what he does. I think there was literally, out of the whole match, so it's 21 minutes long, I think there was literally only a couple of botches by a few of the guys, which isn't too bad. Did watch Tanahashi vs Jay White, really good match, really enjoyed it. But you know, the thing is with these matches is Wrestle Kingdom comes around, is everyone could be like, yeah, it's the greatest wrestling on earth. But if I can't be involved in the storyline, I don't care as much. The reason why I care so much about Will Ospreay and Marty Scurll and the Takahashi Kushida match was because I really like Marty Scurll and Will Ospreay and what they do on the indie scenes. Really love them guys, so that's why I was so involved with it. Whereas this next one, I was just like, yeah, put on a good match. Don't really care emotionally. Cool, move on. Well done, Tanahashi, for winning that. And then number 9 was the 9th match of the night was, of course, the match that we was all waiting for, the Kenny Omega Chris Jericho. 35 minutes this match was given. 35 minutes. That is an amazing... Chris Jericho is into his 40s and doesn't even get given 15 minutes most of the time on WWE. Of course, that won't be anymore. And it was just amazing. Absolutely brilliant. You know, they had a couple of spots, went through tables, went over barriers. So much happened. My favourite moment has to be Chris Jericho. Sorry, my second favourite moment is him beating up the Red Shoes, I believe they call him. So, the ref and his son. I'm pretty sure the commentators were saying, correct me if I'm wrong. And my first moment that I absolutely loved, so my top moment of this match, was Chris Jericho getting the camera and literally just taking pictures of him swearing to the crowd. Now, if those pictures aren't online, the photographer must upload them and just say this is Chris Jericho's finger. That must be, if it's not a good photo, fair enough, but it just seems as though it was fantastic. So obviously a no DQ match. In the end, Chris Jericho had the chair used against him. Of course, Kenny Omega hit his finisher onto that, retaining his title, in which then, just spoiler if people haven't already watched it, the next episode of Wrestle Kingdom, Chris Jericho came back and attacked Naito, which leads us into our next match of Okada defeated Naito in a 37-minute match. And again, because I'm not emotionally involved in this match, thought it was really good, but just not interested. Just not really interested in it. Was just kind of like, okay, cool. You know, really good wrestling. Really enjoyed it. Could watch it again. But can't ever say that it's one of my favourite matches because I'm not emotionally involved in it. So that's our recap for the week. If it was a bit too long, let us know in the comments below. Sorry if I'm rambling on a bit. I keep going to say we because I miss Matt. Why isn't he here? Well, I know why he isn't here. So it's a rhetorical question. Please don't answer that. So this brings us on to our 10 things that we want to happen in WWE this year. And I'm only going to try and sort of keep as quick as I can on these. Because we want to keep these podcasts under an hour long. That way it's not too long for you guys to listen to and you can duck in and out for what you want to be doing. So, Starting off at number 1, and this is where Matt should have been in, because then one of us could have been like, number 1, and then the other one should have been saying, what's coming up. So, number 1, more memorable heated rivalries. So, this was more Matt's one, but I agree with him as well. And you don't really have that in WWE anymore, where you have... Okay, you kind of had it with the Usos versus the New Day last year, which for some people, I feel like they feel like if heated rivalries carry on more matches, then they end up becoming a bit too long for them. They kind of just want to see them go up to 1 pay-per-view or 2 pay-per-views at the most, and that's it. They want it to end there. However, I think as well, I believe that some of the heated rivalries that you've had in the past, from like Triple H and Shawn Michaels in 2002, Stone Cold and The Rock, Stone Cold and Vince McMahon, JBL versus Eddie Guerrero, Brock Lesnar, all of them just really heated rivalries. JBL one with Eddie Guerrero was to the point of Eddie's grandmother had an actual heart attack at a house show, and Eddie almost bled out at a pay-per-view. This is how heated these actually got. But it's just those ones where they actually feel as though they're going towards something, and not just, I want that belt, or I don't like your gimmick, as Dolph Ziggler now does. But they are actually heated rivalries and feel as though you don't know what's going to happen, you don't know who's going to win, and you just feel as though it's going to be a great match, great emotionally, great wrestling, and just great overall. And the best way for them to do this is going into number 2, major heel turns. So number 2 is major heel turns. This is what we want, at least one in 2018. Seth Rollins obviously did it with the Shield a couple of years ago, and it made it so exciting because no one expected it. And yes, fair enough, some of the things that he did with Triple H and the Authority wasn't always the greatest of things, but it was really good. Like major heel turns are something that we never expect, and it would be interesting because you could do this with the New Day. So say what's happening at the moment on SmackDown is obviously Xavier Woods just beat Aiden English. Imagine if Xavier Woods goes through to win the United States title, goes to his head, or even just... Because the thing is, they teased it about a year, just over a year ago now, where Bray Wyatt was on SmackDown and was teasing for Xavier Woods to come away from the New Day, and was like hypnotizing him, and like said that he knew stuff about him, and it was really interesting to see where that was going. But of course they didn't do anything with it. So they could do that now. They could have Xavier Woods leave the New Day if they want to break the New Day up, which of course they're probably not going to do because the New Day sells so much merchandise for them. But just as an example, that would be just so interesting for them to do. And they could do it with, anyone. They might just have like anyone just be like really good friends with someone, then suddenly just turn heel. It'd be interesting. The thing is, if out of all the people that they need to turn heel on SmackDown and Raw, I feel like if you watch NXT, everyone's going to be thinking the same person right now, and it's Bobby Roode. No one likes him as a face. No one likes him with him just standing around backstage and then coming out and just, wrestling okay matches. NXT Bobby Roode was a great heel, cut great promos, cut great wrestling, and you just want him more and more every single time. So turn Bobby Roode heel, possibly. Make him come out and, I don't know, get involved with Baron Corbin's match, or the actual final match. Get him involved, make him heel, make him proper come out after this mixed match challenge, being like, I'm the best, I'm going to dominate everyone, I'm a heel now, screw you. So, moving on to number 3, and I feel like we need something... we need more special effects for this show, especially if I'm going to do it on my own. So I'm going to try and have a look into this for the next podcast episode, so bear with me for that. So number 3 is Triple H taking over the main roster. We really want this on in 2018 because, it seems as though NXT is such a better product in terms of wrestling, in terms of what they do, in terms of what they're allowed to do, in terms of pushing the boundaries each and every time. You know, they brought back War Games this year. They seem to have the best matches of the year, the best feuds in comparison to WWE, and it's just interesting to see how that all gets put together under the influence of Triple H, because obviously he's in charge of NXT. So with Vinnie Mac currently all speculating that he's going to bring out the XFLs, he sold some shares in the WWE, so he has a side project on at the moment. What that side project is hasn't actually been announced yet. Probably has by the time I put this out, but we'll see about that. But it was kayfabe. Vinnie Mac obviously has a side project, so it only seems logical that Triple H takes over, which could mean more NXT style matches onto the WWE, but it also could mean NXT call-ups could do better on the main roster. And the reason why I say this is Elias had an good year with his NXT call-up. Obviously, the women that have come through have had a good start. Not great, but not bad. Can't really complain at that. But if you think about it, even if you look back to Survivor Series, you had from NXT, Finn Balor, Bobby Roode, Shinsuke Nakamura, in which all went out very early on, and the people remaining was Braun Strowman. Fair enough, he came from NXT as well, but he's a monster, so you expect that he's getting the push he deserves. Shane McMahon, Kurt Angle, and Triple H. Now, come on. Fair enough, they sometimes like to live in the past and have all this nostalgia, but get some new guys involved with it. I don't know what exactly, but they need to have something like this where they just push the NXT talent more and more. They need to bring them up better. And something, as I said as well, is more NXT style matches on WWE, which leads us to number 4, War Games on the main roster. And we say this because War Games was a really good pay-per-view on NXT and was just absolutely fantastic. We really enjoyed it. It was such a good pay-per-view, not just because of the main event, but the matches they put on before that as well. And you could easily do this. Like, you could easily just have... you could imagine just at the moment, so you have... I don't know, say the New Day move over to Raw, or say they just decide to have a feud, or whatever. Just out of context, it would be, say, the New Day versus the Shield versus the Club. Imagine how good of a War Games you could have through that. But also as well, you could bring back, Stargate. Stargate was like the best pay-per-view that they did back in like the 90s, and they brought it back for this year, but not televised. So, I mean, that might be just testing the waters, but that comes as part of this whole War Games thing. Bring back some nostalgia stuff and make it work in the 21st century. Make it work in 2018, because they easily could on the main roster, and I don't see why it wouldn't work. Matt put a question to me about this, and it was like, well, what pay-per-view? And it's like, well, it could have its own pay-per-view, but at the same time, the New Day aren't on Raw, they're on SmackDown. So, I mean, you could have, I don't know, a Survivor Series thing, and you could possibly have Undisputed Era in another one. You could have a Raw versus SmackDown versus NXT, because NXT is being built as such a big brand. And as I said, if Triple H takes over the main roster, he'd probably want more NXT involvement. Maybe not a Nexus type thing. But, I mean, if you're ready, we'll just say Undisputed Era for now. If you're ready to call up Adam Cole to the main roster, this would be your perfect scenario to do it. This would be your way of going, right, Raw v SmackDown v NXT, War Games, Undisputed Era versus the New Day versus the Club. Taking out the Shield because, Roman Reigns will be doing something else, and kayfabe at the moment, Dean Ambrose is injured. But that would be so good. It would be so good to see all of them three in 2 rings technically together inside one steel cage match, and it would be absolutely fantastic. Number 5. I still don't know what I'm doing with these at the moment. So number 5, what we want is a New Japan invasion. And before people start going, well, that's stupid, that's never going to happen, we know it's a list of things that we want to happen, not what we think is going to happen. We never try and predict WWE. It's pointless sometimes trying to predict WWE, because it's either really obvious what they're going to do, or they just don't give you what you want, and you just get kicked in the face. And everyone wants Rusev as WWE champion or United States champion, but we just don't get it. Give me a moment. Moving on. Like the WCW invasion, but they could possibly do it with New Japan. We obviously did come across some problems with this. The language barrier might be a bit of a problem, but like Matt put it, actions speak louder than words. And I'm not being funny, but you have quite a lot of English talent or English speaking talent that could have this. Imagine Kenny Omega, Marty Scurll, Will Ospreay, all English speaking guys. Obviously none of them actually American. Kenny Omega being Canadian, and Will Ospreay and Marty Scurll being English, but they all are English speaking. Therefore, they could lead the invasion, or in fact, if after all of this, Chris Jericho leads the invasion. Imagine how big 2018 would be for WWE and New Japan if Chris Jericho, the God's gift of WWE, the drink it in man, the list of Jericho, leads the New Japan Revolution against the WWE, and you get matches like Braun Strowman versus Okada, Roman Reigns versus Naito, Kenny Omega versus Seth Rollins. They would be fantastic matches, and how good would they be? Yes, we know, as we said, it wouldn't happen. It's more likely that Vinnie Mac would definitely turn his nose up at this and just be like, what are we doing with New Japan wrestlers? I got my own wrestlers. Really bad impression. I know I'm really bad at them. And he just normally nicks, obviously, the talent from New Japan. But you could even have that. You could have old Bullet Club versus the new Bullet Club. Obviously, AJ Styles was the leader of the Bullet Club, and so was Finn Balor. And you could have those 4 versus the current Bullet Club. It would be so good. The Young Bucks, Marty Scurll, and Kenny Omega versus the Good Brothers, Finn Balor and AJ Styles. How good would that be on the main roster? And if you don't know what I'm going on about because you don't watch New Japan or indie wrestling, go online, watch it. Just watch any match they've ever done. Go Ring of Honor, Defiant, any wrestling on the indie scene where those guys have all been together. It's just fantastic, and you could see what I mean by this. Just go watch the matches and just imagine the best wrestler in the world at the moment, AJ Styles, versus the best, what I would say he's one of the best technical wrestlers on Raw, versus what could be a really dominant tag team of the Good Brothers, but they're not just being used properly, against the Young Bucks. Kenny Omega, who's meant to be the best wrestler, technical wrestler in the world, on a different level to AJ Styles, and with Marty Scurll as well, who's a fantastic wrestler who performed really, really well at Wrestle Kingdom 12. So just imagine that. If you don't know what I'm going on about, go check them out online right now. Number 6, Talking Smack. We want Talking Smack back. So if you think back to last year when they actually got rid of it, so many people were upset. Fair enough, it's not in front of fans, but you get to have an hour long where they just review what's just happened on SmackDown and what can happen, which for the fans can answer a lot of questions, and it doesn't need to wait until SmackDown the following week. And it also brings attention to their YouTube channel, or even if they wanted to put it on their WWE network and keep it on there instead, that's going to bring a lot of people to it. Because, especially, so let's imagine it was this week. So Daniel Bryan announces a handicap match of Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens versus AJ Styles for the United States title. No one knows how this is going to work. No one knows what's going to happen. I spoke about this earlier on in the podcast. But you could have Renee Young interviewing him so that he actually explains what's going to happen with it. And a lot of people would tune in to hear that. Also, as well, with Talking Smack, you get a lot better promos. So they're not in front of fans. So there's no pressure on anyone belittling you, apart from the people that you're with, which is normally either Daniel Bryan, Shane McMahon, and Renee Young, which has led to probably the best promo of 2017-16, whenever it was, which was The Miz just going off script, going in at Daniel Bryan, when Daniel Bryan said that he was a coward. That was the best moment of just The Miz going off on one. And if you haven't watched WWE's latest sort of off-spin show that they've done, I think it's called like Photo Booth or Photo Shoot. They've done one with Cesaro, they've done one with The Miz, and they're both really good because The Miz even explains in this what happened, what went through his head, and how much he went off script. And he said that he was waiting for Daniel Bryan just to smack him in the mouth. But obviously it was the best promo. So imagine with this, you have the women coming on and cutting promos in which they're not being belittled by the crowd, in which they're all obviously like the women's script, the women's promos seem really scripted on the main roster, and you can tell they're kind of a little bit robotic. Like, I am going to win the WWE Raw Women's title. I'll get into the Royal Rumble. It's just like, okay, cool, whatever. But if they go on to Talking Smack and literally just, they go, right, you've got 5 minutes. Renee Young's going to ask you questions. Make sure you're ready. Go in there, cut your own promo. And the thing is, that then gives wrestlers a chance to prove themselves. And literally, so if say you had Natalya cut a massive promo or Carmella cut a massive promo, a lot of people are going to be more invested in them on Talking Smack. And it gives them a chance to do this rather than the women coming out and just going, right, okay, I don't like the new women, I don't like Charlotte, so therefore I'm entering the Royal Rumble and I want the title. Cool, everyone does. See you later. So with this, Matt also puts an alternative to this, and which was cut down Raw to a 2-hour show. He believes that SmackDown seems to be thriving from this. Raw struggles just past the 2-hour mark when it comes to viewings, which is true. They do seem to be struggling in that third and final hour, which kind of doesn't make sense because you end up with the main event, obviously, in the third and final hour, but it's just not what people seem to struggle to watch all 3 hours. I mean, I watch all 3 hours, but to be fair, sometimes I watch it afterwards, which gets rid of the ad break, so it does kind of cut it down by about half an hour or so, but I'm still there for the majority of it anyway. So that's Matt's alternative. However, I believe that Talking Smack would be a better way because you'd get that extra hour for SmackDown where they can cut more promos and get more interviews, do more backstage, and it would just draw a lot more attention behind the scenes as well to SmackDown. And as I said, it would be a lot better for the women, which is a little segue into number 7. Book the women properly. Now, I know we've just said the women should have more time for like promos, and Talking Smack would be better for this because they seem to be, really robotic sometimes when it comes to when they talk out in front of a crowd. But this is what could happen. They could have such better promos and the fans would be more interested with them. And we know that they are, quote, making history, with what they've done this year. The first women's Money in the Bank match, the match in Dubai or Abu Dhabi. We still haven't finalised this. In the last podcast we was arguing about this as well. And of course the Women's Royal Rumble coming up. They're all historic moments. However, they're good at the time. Like, we know we're interested in the Women's Royal Rumble. We're interested to see who's coming back, what's happening, etc., etc. But week in, week out, we're getting pretty bored of the same promos of Absolution coming out, we're going to win. Charlotte comes out, no, we're going to win. Obviously brings out Naomi and Becky Lynch. And then the Welcoming Committee come out like, no, we're going to win. And you're just like, come on. Give them a bit more time. Sometimes that's what I feel like with the women's roster is, this is from me and not from Matt. I don't know how Matt feels about all this. But I feel like the women either need more time or their own show. There are 11 women on Raw. There are 11 women on SmackDown. And it seems as though they try to fit them all in to one episode in pretty much a 15-minute to half an hour space, which really isn't good enough for them. They need either longer, or they need to just have, less women on at one time, which I'm not saying is a good thing. I would much rather have the women do more. E.g., talking smack, they can cut a promo. If it goes really well and the fans love it, then you know where to go the following week, etc., etc. Number 8, dream matches. So this is where it comes all down to sort of what you really want to see, and especially if you're an indie fan, then it makes for really good matchups that you could have. Like, we don't want Shinsuke Nakamura versus John Cena on a random episode of SmackDown because it wasn't even that good of a match. But something that happened last year was the Usos versus New Day, and this is where we go into heated rivalries again, is they were fantastic, and they were the dream match that you never knew you wanted. Like, you just always think, oh yeah, it'll be a good match, whatever. But they had such a good feud. They had, I think it was the SummerSlam pre-show was amazing, Hell in a Cell was amazing, their rap battle stuff was amazing, and it was just so good. And these are the dream matches that we want. So imagine on the grandest stage of them all, AJ Styles versus Shinsuke Nakamura. Imagine that. That would be fantastic. And it was like, even at Survivor Series just gone, it was another one that I didn't think I knew I wanted, which was Brock Lesnar versus AJ Styles, and was again another really good match. So these are the dream matches that we really, really want. And we don't just want them, at any old pay-per-view. Like, I don't want them at Fastlane. I want them at the Big Four. So the Big Four, obviously Royal Rumble, WrestleMania, SummerSlam, Survivor Series. Those are ones where I want these dream matches, these once-in-a-lifetime matches. And when I say once-in-a-lifetime matches, I don't mean The Rock versus John Cena again and again and again. But people like that, and AJ versus, as we said, Brock. But even now, you could have Finn Balor versus Brock. That could be a really good match if they put it on. But it just seems as though, as I said, Vinnie Mac never wants to give us what we want. They would just rather do it on random episodes of Raw or SmackDown. Number 9, Daniel Bryan return. And we've said about this before. Obviously, we spoke about it last week. A lot of people have. And it's that WWE doctors don't want to clear Daniel Bryan, but he says other doctors do. And here's a clip of Daniel Bryan speaking on Hot 97. WWE's Daniel Bryan reveals whether he will wrestle again, and which Daniel Bryan explains quite a lot. So I'm going to let him do the speaking for it. He says mainly that it's not black and white and that there's a lot more into it. So take us away, Daniel.
WWE and everything, and I love everything they've done for our program and my friend here, Rosenberg. I don't know if it quite works like that.
Yeah, the world doesn't work like that, and I wish it did. But that's my real utopia.
Actually, let me ask you, just because I don't know, and I want to make sure the audience, maybe they follow it and don't know the details. Why does the WWE say that you cannot wrestle? What are the specifics?
Oh, so I've had too many concussions.
Now, Daniel. Mm-hmm. Hopefully this is in a sensitive area, but that's a very sensitive topic.
Oh yeah,
and especially with parents, right? Yes. For multiple sports, right? Mm-hmm. Whether it's baseball players getting hit with fast pitches and too many concussions, with football, obviously, lacrosse, wrestling. These are all stuff that are parent family friendly.
Yes.
So these things are taken seriously because your health 10, 20 years from now right, is something that people need to be concerned about. I'm sure the people who love you and your family are concerned about.
So, yeah, but I also think that there's a lot of miseducation around concussions, too. And that's one of the things that I've actually been working with people at a concussion institute in Phoenix, where I live. And he's talked to me about going and talking to kids. And one of the big things is, for example, if you're a high school football player, right, and you get a concussion, and you're like, oh, no, I'm in line for like a scholarship. If I tell somebody, they might take me out of the game next week, or they might do this, or they might do that. Concussions are not a death sentence. It's not anything like that. And they don't know exactly how concussions work as far as within like other stuff, as far as drugs and steroids and all that, and even the foods you eat and everything like that. But what I'm saying is, so, okay, if you get a concussion and you report the concussion and you wait out, like you tell, this is the important thing for kids to know. Like, if you're playing football and you get a concussion, you need to tell your coaches, and you need to not play football until your brain is healed from your concussion.
That's right.
And then you have a very good chance of still still playing at a high level, and that concussion probably won't affect you for the rest of your life. Now, we also know that concussion research is at this middling stage right now.
It's very new.
Yeah, it's like, so we're at this idea where it's like, concussions are really, really bad for you, which they've known for a long time.
Right, but Daniel, and I don't know if I'm even supposed to be going this deep, but WWE has had people in the past that, because of what was going on with their brain and concussions, right, have had terrible closures to their lives.
So that
so as a not just even as a precaution, but like they've given you a job outside of wrestling. Like, yo, man, we love you, bro. We love what you represent for our brand,
and also love how popular it is. I mean, to be honest, Daniel gets some of the best reactions in the building right now, and he's not wearing tights.
People love you. We want you to be a part of this for an extended period of time. Jeopardizing your health is not good for business, and it's not good for somebody that we care about.
Right, yes, but that is, you've made a lot of assumptions there that aren't true.
They don't love you?
No.
People don't love
I'm
you?
talking
about the impact of concussions.
Yeah, about the impact of concussions.
True,
aren't
but we both agree that we don't know.
Right, yes, but, okay, so I have worked with some of the best people in the country. I've been cleared by specialists at UCLA that I did not choose, right? WWE sent them to me because they're the best. A whole team of people who work with concussions on a daily basis. And they said to me, you are fine to wrestle. And we're also at the stage where all my brain EEGs, my MRIs, my neuropsychological tests, all this stuff.
Let me ask you this. A quick question.
Okay.
You still have a job, yes?
Yes.
You're still involved in wrestling, yes?
Yes.
Why must you wrestle?
Okay, so here's the thing. So I love wrestling, but I don't love all of it, right?
Okay.
The hard part of wrestling is the travel and going here and there and being away from your family. The part that I love is being in the ring and wrestling.
The action.
Being
the
in
actual
there,
art.
Being in there and doing it. So now I've got the job where it's the part of wrestling that I don't like. And so this is the thing. I'm okay, if you can't wrestle, that's okay. Let me stay at home and garden.
Something that he's also said is that if he doesn't wrestle by Mania, he probably won't ever wrestle in WWE again. But there's so many like people that would want him. New Japan would want him. Ring of Honor would want him back. Cody Rhodes and the Bullet Club, mainly the Young Bucks, are putting on a show that's 10,000 seats. And imagine Daniel Bryan's first match back being against Cody Rhodes in that large of a capacity. That would be fantastic. But WWE needs to bring him back, and it's a very hit and miss situation, because obviously he's had these seizures because of concussions, and concussions aren't anything to joke about, and it's a very early process that they kind of touch around with this, because no one's really done enough research into it, but it's something that I think everyone wants to see, and I'm hoping it's something that they build towards, and it's a Daniel Bryan return. Number 9, that's what we want. Which brings us on to number 10, shock moments. So we really want more shocking moments to happen, that you don't really expect. Someone winning a belt that you don't expect to, or someone winning the Royal Rumble that you don't just think, can I really be bothered with this? E.g. Randy Orton last year, and the year before that, John Cena, year before that, Roman Reigns, and you just kind of think, oh, these are really obvious people. Imagine if just randomly they went, Kalisto, win the Royal Rumble, or just something like that. Obviously, we don't actually want Kalisto, but we want someone that is like a really underrated superstar who we think should get a push. And I think shock booking is one of those ones that it gets people involved again, because people will go to watch it live. People will watch it live online, but there are those matches where they come back and they go online, watch them again and again. A great moment of this was the Hardys coming back. That was some great shock booking when no one expected it. And I said it last week as well. Every time I watch this match, or I watch them coming out, is the moment I get goosebumps. I have goosebumps right now. If you could actually see me, I have goosebumps right now on my arms and hand. But it's just so good when the New Day just stand up there going, we have another competitor to this match. And everyone's like, hoo, hoo, hoo. And then they're like, dun, 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 dun. And yes, a really bad impression of their theme music. That was me. But they came out and it was just, whoa, amazing. And it was just like the year before, you had Brock beat The Undertaker. That was some shock booking as well. And I feel like we need more of this in 2018 to keep people invested, to keep people thinking WWE isn't predictable. It isn't all that, everyone says that you'll know what's going to happen. We need these really good matches that you don't expect coming, these shocking outcomes that you don't expect coming, shocking returns, and stuff just to keep people interested. So yeah, that brings us to the end of today's podcast. If you enjoyed what we've done and spoke about today, if you've got any comments at all about what I spoke about here on today's podcast, you can get involved. Tweet us at Run-inWrestling, Instagram at Run-inWrestling. You can get involved on Facebook, Run-inWrestling. It's everywhere. YouTube, SoundCloud. Get involved in all of them. Or even if you just don't want to be on the old social platforms and just want to email us just to say, hey, I don't agree with you, or hey, I agree with you, then email us, runinwrestling@gmail.com. We really want you guys to get involved with our podcast. It's something that I feel, as podcasters, if we're going to grow a fan base and we're starting off really early, we really need you guys to get involved so that we can start giving back to you guys as well. So make sure you're checking us out on all of the socials. Let us know what you think of this podcast, other podcasts, all of our socials. We're always putting out good content every single day, so make sure you're checking us out on all of them. And live from the Kent studios of Run-In, I've been Ryan Beak. Goodbye.